How do I do it? How do I do it? You all want to know, how do I do it? How do I get what I want? Welcome to the platform where I talk about everything relevant, topics that resonate, and help you elevate. This is the platform. If you're a new viewer or an occasional viewer, please do subscribe. Your support goes a long way. Thank you. Today's episode is how to get what you want. A man becomes a nation, right? So we all after something, we all want something in our lives, no matter how goalless we are, no matter the lack of ambition that some people have, I do believe that we all want something. We all after something, you know, and whatever we're after, at times it seems like we are failing to get it, you know, on time, or we're just failing to get it in general. And that's not the best position to be in, and you improve your position when you now have that which you want. But now the question is, okay, how do I actually get what I want? How do I get to the point of actually possessing what I want? You know, how do I do it? How do I do it? We all want to know, how do I do it? How do I get what I want? So, how do you get what you want? For you to get what you want, you have to first know what you want. That's the first step, because you can't ask yourself, how do I get something, when you don't know what you're aiming at, when you don't know what your target is. You have to know what you want as a person, and you also have to know why you want what you want. So, why do you have to know what you want? And why do you have to know why you want what you want? So you have to know why you want what you want, so that you can look within yourself. You can self-introspect and check your heart to see if you're doing what you're doing out of carnality, or if you're doing it in trying to aim for the highest good. So that's why you have to know why you are aiming for what you're aiming at. Because if you don't ask yourself, well, there's a danger to that, because it might be an aimless aim and you might just end up wasting your time. It's good to ask yourself the question, why are you aiming at what you're aiming at? Why do you want what you want? Because if you're aiming for something, and the reason why you want it, it's not as pivotal, that means that you can quit at any time, because there is no foundation strong enough to keep you going when things get hard. Because it's not every time that you want something and then it comes to you so easy. At times you have to endure, at times you have to be diligent enough in going after what you want, so that you are able to attain it, so that you're able to get it. So when you now know why you are going after the thing that you're going for, you are now in a better place to actually come up with a plan as to how do you get what you want. So the question, how do I get what I want? It's a question of strategy. It allows you to lay out a blueprint for yourself in order to aim for that which you actually truly desire. So how do I get what I want? So there are so many factors involved when it comes to you getting what you want, because at times when you want something, there are always obstacles and there are always challenges that seem to be limiting you for you to get what you actually want. So, for example, let's say that you want a car, right? So, this car, that is what you're aiming at. But why are you aiming at what you're aiming at? So you want the car because it will help you with mobility. It will make your life less miserable. And at the end of the day, that's why we want things that we want because they are reducing our misery, basically. So if you want a car, you want it because it will make it easier for you to navigate wherever you want to go. It will make it easier to just be in your own space. Sometimes when you just want to travel by yourself, when you want to just listen to your music in the car. So that's why you're aiming for the car. You want the car because you'll be able to take your kids to school, your sister to school, your brother. That's why you're aiming at the car, right? But as much as you're aiming for this car, for example, let's say that it's on an auction, right? So that means other people are actually bidding for this car. So now that's an obstacle associated with the car. So the question is, how do you actually get what you want when you have obstacles? You get what you want by being able to endure and by being able to adapt as quick as you can to the natural environment of that scenario for the thing that you're aiming for. So it's an auction. There are other people bidding for this car that you also want. So now what do? You can just give up and say that, you know what, I'm going to quit. I don't want this car, because other people want it. Well, let me tell you a fact. Whatever you're aiming for, whatever you want, other people want it as well. And they probably want it for the same reason that you do. It's a beautiful car. It's very convenient. It takes you where you want to go. And or maybe it's the type of car that, you know what, if you are in the car, well, people really see that, you know what, this person is in a car. So whatever you want, other people want it as well. You're not just alone in the race to wanting things, you know. So we all want something and we are all after something and everybody wants something. Whoever says that they don't want anything, well, I don't want to call them a liar, but it seems impractical to me because we all want something. Well, eventually, inevitably, we all want something. We're all after something. So whatever that you want, there are always going to be other people who want it as well. So you have to know how to stay on top of the game. You have to know how your competitors are performing for you to outperform them in some ways, because we all have our weaknesses and you have to know what your weaknesses are in order for you to stay competitive enough for you to get what you want so that you are able to outdo the person who is next to you who also wants what you want because you want what you want, right? But here's the thing, aiming at something that you want and making action towards it, those are two different things. You can say that you want a car, but then you're not saving up for you to be able to buy that car. You can say that you want a car, but you're not working towards getting the car. Your actions are not making sense in terms of what you're aiming at. So whatever you're aiming at, it has to also align with that which you want because faith without works is dead. You can't just say that you want something and then at the end of the day, you're not doing anything about getting that which you want, getting that which you actually desire. So you have to be willing to take the course of action that allows you to get what you want. So you have to be willing to kick the ball for it to go into the net. Basically, that's how it works. You can't just say that you want to do something and then you end up just sitting down and not doing anything about it or making the necessary actions for you to get what you want. You can't be saying that you want a car and yet you're overspending all the money that you want to use to buy that car. So you have to be wise enough to know how to get what you want. And you have to be willing to endure. And you have to be willing to make sure that whatever you're aiming at, you're aiming as high as you can. So that if what you want doesn't happen, at least you have something better that is in line for you to get what you want. My high school geography teacher used to say this. It's an example that he once gave in class. His name is Mr. Shamano. I think he's now a doctor. If he's watching this, that's good, man. So he said, he gave an example where he said that if you're aiming at something, make sure that you aim for the stars, because if you miss at the star, at least you know that you're going to land on the cloud. And if you miss the cloud, at least you land on the tree canopy. But the whole concept and the key concept is that you never hit the ground. So whatever you're aiming at, make sure that it is as high as it can be, so that if anything goes wrong, you're able to sustain the fall. Because if you aim as low as you can and then you don't hit the target, well, you definitely going to hit the ground. And the ground is not a good place to hit because, well, who likes being on the ground? No one. I don't know anyone who likes being on the ground, you know. And by being on the ground, I mean the ground is representing a place of misery where no one wants to be at. Because in whatever we're doing, we all want our lives to be reflecting a part or a piece of heaven, because heaven represents everything that is peaceful, everything that is good. But here's the thing in getting what you want and how to get what you want and knowing what you want. You have to know how to keep that which you want when you now have it. So now that brings up the concept and the law of management. So basically, the law of management states that whatever you mismanage, you eventually lose. So you have to be a good manager for you to be able to keep that which you want. I give an example of a car. So let's say you have this car now. You've attained that which you want. You've managed to reduce your misery. And that's a good thing. Congratulations. But you have to know how to keep it. So how do you keep it? You keep it by maintaining it. You keep it by making sure that the condition is not always degrading. So you have to be able to clean the car. You have to be able to take it for service. You have to be driving modestly in a way that allows you to keep the car long term, because you don't want to be changing a car every week, or you don't want to be having the car breaking down every week, because that will just make you more miserable and you end up hating that which you wanted to begin with. So management is actually a key concept. You have to be able to be a good manager. You have to know how to keep that which you've attained so that you don't lose it. So there's so many things involved when it comes to you getting what you want. In one of the episodes, I spoke about someone who would walk to a person, to a girl, and say that you're my wife, right? So basically, in this scenario, they want a wife, but then they are not approaching the situation or the scenario with the best approach. So eventually, they'll miss at it. So in order for you to get what you want, you have to know how to approach what you want in the way that is representing the highest good, in the way that has some form of modern decorum, because when you approach someone like that, well, I'll tell you this, it's a high stake bid. You might win, or potentially. It's let's just say it's a 50-50 scenario overly, because I mean, you miss all the shots that you don't take, right? But you have to know that this is a high stake bid, you know. Either you are going to miss so badly or you're going to win. And if you win, well, congratulations. I mean, well, that was brave and that was bold. And, well, at least you got what you wanted, but it's a high stake bid for you to approach things like that. And some people don't mind doing that, in life, where they place high bids for them to be able to get what they want. And if I'm to be real with you, I feel like I'm also that person. I don't mind overstaking or staking with as much as I can, not just on a general level, but I think with everything. I think I'm an all type of person. So if I'm doing something, I want to be doing it with all my heart. I don't want to be doing something or aiming at something when I know that a part of me doesn't want to be involved in this scenario or in this aim. If I aim at something when I'm not in full agreement with it, I think eventually when I have that which I want, it will simply make me miserable, because I never wanted it to begin with. So I just wasted my time and I just wasted my energy. So you have to aim for what you want and make sure that whatever you're doing is coming from the right place within you and it's aiming at the highest good. So I try my best to I try my best to refrain from actions or from aiming at things that are not representing the highest good at the end of the day. So you have to be willing to aim at something, but make sure that whatever you're aiming at is the highest good. And when it comes to the concept of you getting what you want, take a business, for example, a retail business. They make money from making sales. If they sell so much, they're able to make so much if you're talking about quantity. So if you look at some retail businesses, well, some of them really, that are trying to cater for every level of population, the mid-income earners, the high-income earners, or the low-income earners, sometimes they have things that they're putting on sale, and why are they putting those things on sale? They're putting those things on sale because they have a goal. And what is their goal? Their goal is that they want to sell, they want to make a sale. It doesn't matter who is going to be buying the project. What they know is they just want it gone. They just want to make money from it. You know, that's the whole concept of sales. So they are also marketing it. So you have to master the concept of marketing and sales for you to get what you want. So basically, they present themselves in a way that those who are around them are able to be attracted enough to the business and to see that this business is actually putting something on sale. So there's a whole art of psychology that goes on especially when it comes to like some of the colors that are used or even font types. You see the color red, most bright colors that are used when it comes to like putting items on sale because you see items written 50% off, that type of thing. That is just going to attract you. I mean, unless you have like a really, really strong mind, you know, that is able to resist your attention from being drifted away for a moment. So that's what these businesses do. They know that they want sales, so they have to put items on sale, right? So that's what they want. That is what they are aiming at. That's how they present themselves. So presentation is also important when it comes to you getting what you want. And at times you have to know, let's say you want something from people, you have to know the psychology associated with how to get what you want when it comes to people. You have to be willing to be friendly enough with them for you to get what you want. But I'm not saying that befriend people so that you are able to get what you want. Like I said, if you're aiming at something, make sure that you're aiming at it from the point of aiming at the highest good. So when you know how to get what you want, and you know what you want, and you know why you want what you want, well, I'll tell you this: a man can certainly become a nation. So one of the things that inspired me in making this episode was the story of Jacob in the Bible. So the name Jacob, by definition, its meaning comes down to being a deceiver, right? So that was what Jacob was named or associated with since birth. So all his life is living a life where he is basically deception walking, if you want to look at it that way. So there's a scenario that happens. I think it must be Genesis 32. So Jacob wrestles with the angel of the Lord, right? He wrestles with an angel. Some actually say he wrestled with God. The question is, why was Jacob wrestling with God in Genesis? Why was he wrestling with an angel? Right? So he wrestles, right? And then he says something, right? In one of the verses, he says it, I will not let you go until you bless me. So you see someone who's after something, that is what he wants, right? And for him to get what he wants, he is under the impression that he has to put on a fight, he has to wrestle as hard as he can for him to be able to actually get what he wants from the angel, from God. So Jacob presents a perfect scenario when it comes to how do I get what I want. He struggles and he wrestles with God. He wrestles with the angel. And why does he want that which he's aiming for? He wants it because he knows that if he has the blessing from God, well, that'll be a good thing because it'll reduce the misery that he has in his life. And we all want the blessing because we are all trying to end our suffering in some sort of way, and we are able to end it through the blessing. And there's no better blessing than to actually get a blessing from God. So, in this scenario where Jacob wrestles with God, you find out that he ends up being called Israel instead of Jacob. He's given a new name. And why would he be given a new identity? Because so he is given a new identity because there's a certain character, there's a certain mindset that limits you from getting what you want. And with him, it was the one which is associated with his name because he was called a deceiver. He was called Jacob. And if you trace through the life of Jacob, you see that at times either he was participating in deception or he was actually the deceiver. So that's why his name had to be changed. He had to be given a new identity that aligned him with the Imago Dei, that aligned him with the will of God. And in Genesis 35, he has an encounter again with God. And God reiterates to him that your name is now Israel instead of Jacob. And Israel means that he who has prevailed with God. And Israel means something, something so important that it is aiming at the highest good. So in Genesis 35, basically, God speaks a blessing over him again. So the question is, why would God repeat himself? God would repeat himself because Jacob didn't understand or he didn't catch the drift that my identity has been changed. I need to change the way I think because there's a certain mindset that limits you from getting what you want and actually attaining that which you desire. And I do get why Jacob would actually miss on the initial encounter that he had when he wrestled the angel when his name was changed. I mean, if you look back into Genesis 28, he says that he was not aware, that the angels were here, that the presence of God was actually here. He says that he was not aware. So maybe Jacob actually had a problem with being aware, in terms of like recognizing what's actually going on, So not being aware can actually hinder you from getting what you want and knowing how to get what you want. But I do appreciate that in Genesis 35, he actually shows some level of awareness that is beyond astonishing. So Jacob's wife had given birth to a son, right? And she named the son Benioni. So Benioni means son of my trouble. So he calls Benioni son of my right hand. He understood how the name Jacob had limited him and why God had to name him Israel because he also wants the son to also walk in the blessing that is associated with the name. So, how do you get what you want? You get what you want with the identity that allows you to get what you want. Everything that you want, it is within the identity, and that identity is always associated with the highest good. It is always associated with God, in understanding that He made you in His image. You are His creation, and knowing that you are a son and you are a daughter of the Most High God, that means that you already possess the identity that allows you to aim for what you want. Not only aim for it, but actually attain what you want. Because what you want also wants you. You just have to have the faith for it. This is episode 4: How to Get What You Want. A Man Becomes a Nation. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.